just because I was kissed by a beautiful death row inmate. Every night I have nightmares about her leading me into crime. In the 4 years I was under her guidance, I unexpectedly handled 100,000 cases in my dreams. Little Bo Ming Bird unlocks the door, flying a fighter jet. I relied on my experience of committing crimes in dreams. It only took 3 months. He scored full marks and entered the criminal investigation team. Today is the day I report for my internship at the criminal investigation team. The Hue High District Criminal Investigation Team is structured as a subordinate organization. Therefore, the Criminal Investigation Team is also responsible for drug enforcement. No additional anti-drug team has been established. In the office of the director of the Criminal Investigation Team, Lin Tian was flipping through the personal files. He smiled at the two people in front of him, Su Ming and Wan Hu. Welcome to the Hue High District Criminal Investigation Team. You are still in your internship period. After you graduate from the police academy, will automatically be converted to a probationary period. Having made contributions will allow for an earlier confirmation of employment. Do you have any other questions? Wang Hu, with an excited expression, quickly raised his head and puffed out his chest in response. No problem. Lin Tian looked at him without answering immediately. She hesitated but didn't continue. Su Ming, do you have a problem? Compared to Wang Hu's excitement, I appeared extremely calm, ignoring Wang Hu's little elbow nudges. Be neither arrogant nor humble. Report to the neighboring bureau. I hope you can send me to the front line, directly involved in solving various criminal cases. Learning through practice. Under normal circumstances, a newly hired intern police officer absolutely must review the case files. Do some chores to cultivate your character. It's impossible to be sent directly to the front lines. But for me, if I can't participate in the case immediately, doing those meaningless chores, then why not transform instead? Become the most perfect criminal in history. This response clearly surprised Lin Tian, but after seeing my perfect score on the administrative exam, furrowing his brow in deep thought for a few seconds, he stood up. All right, you two come with me. This afternoon, there happens to be a capture mission. I asked Xiao Zhu to take you all, although it may not be a major case, but it can also make you gradually lose sleep. Lin Tianyi took the lead and walked out of the office. Arriving at the case handling area, I looked at Zhu Chengsheng, who had just finished setting up the arrest mission. Undoubtedly, Xiao Zhu, I'm sending you two new arrivals. From now on, it's up to you to lead them. They also participated in the afternoon capture mission. Understand how our real administrative team operates. Impatient expression. Lao Daizin is the legacy of the police force. Many years ago, he was also Lin Tian's disciple. Until now, able to stand alone. With a wave of the hand, it was a stroke. Understood, master. You two come with me, although there are still a few hours until the planned capture. But we have to stake out first. After speaking, Zhu Chengsheng took Wang Hu and me away, preparing for this capture plan. Beihai administrative team parking lot. Zhu Chengsheng walked towards his private car while narrating this capture. This operation targets the number 4 drug trade. This is what the public refers to as heroin. The information was provided by a tipster. The accuracy is extremely high and the transaction volume is also very large. According to the informant's intelligence, translation error. One piece is 5 grams. This is already 25 grams. As for the seller, I am already an old hand at the second attack. This time, going back in for drug trafficking. Even if you don't eat peanuts, you'll still wear out the old bottom. The buyer and seller are engaged in their first transaction. The two were not familiar with each other. The meeting point they arranged was on Junction Road Pedestrian Street. The tourist crowd is large, can effectively conceal their whereabouts. This is an old trick of seasoned players. As Zhu Chengsheng said, some real seasoned drug dealers and users. Choosing a trading location. Actually, not only will it not be in a remote corner, instead, it is usually in the bustling city center. The foot traffic is heavy. It is the best protective color. Especially, this is personnel that has never been traded before. Both sides are afraid that the police are fishing for information. To avoid them waking up and causing the deal to fall through, we are taking undercover action. Besides the three of us, more than 10 people participated in this capture. At that time, they will hide in every corner and place. You two should just stay with me to avoid making any moves that would wake them up. By the way, the neighbor just said, from now on, you two will follow me, but there's no need to call me master. Makes me appear too old. Just call me brother. After listening to the general details of the capture and the subsequent arrangements, Wan Hu and I nodded in agreement. Understood. The three walked side by side, walked to his private car. Zhu Chengsheng dug into his pocket, suddenly froze for a moment, just turned out all the pockets. I haven't seen the car keys at all. Immediately after that, Zhu Chengsheng pressed against the car window and saw the set of keys on the seat. He slapped his spy hard. I do. If it gets lost in the car, this is a problem now. We need to call the locksmith. We must hurry. Otherwise, the capture could go wrong. After speaking, Zhu Chengsheng looked at me and Wang Hu beside him. He sighed with some annoyance. I'm good at everything. Always forgetful and careless. This is already the third time. Standing beside, I ponder for a moment. Quickly walked to the nearby iron railing. He pulled a piece of thin wire and came to the side of the car. Brother Sheng, please move aside. Let me see if I can unlock it directly. 3 seconds later, click, the crisp sound of a key turning in the lock echoed. I opened the car door without a care. All right, Brother Sheng. Let's hurry to the designated location. Let's prepare for this capture. Looking at the opened car door, Zhu Chengsheng was stunned at that moment. Immediately realized it. I took a deep look at the iron wire in my hand, quickly grabbed the keys and started the car. Get in the car. Zhu Chengsheng glanced at me with resolute eyes beside him, seemingly casual. Who taught you that? The speed of unlocking like this. Translation error. I didn't answer immediately, constantly recalling in my mind. In the simulation of 100,000 crimes, many will need to use lock-picking skills. I just shrugged. He answered casually. Learned from the internet. Zhu Chengsheng was not the least bit surprised. It can't be the first perfect score on the police exam in so many years. You can learn this lock-picking technique just by looking online. Speaking of which, if Xiaming, you weren't a detective, I had to drag you to register just now. I turned my head to look out the window, my eyes shimmering, constantly complaining in my heart. If not for being a criminal police officer, I fear this world has yet to uncover countless unsolved cases. Junction Road Pedestrian Street, although it is currently 1 o'clock in the afternoon. However, the number of tourists remains high. There are even quite a few tourist groups. Increased the overall difficulty of the capture significantly. Zhu Chengsheng parked the car, but did not get off the car immediately. Hand the 2 mini earphones to me and Wan Hu Dao. Hide these 2 headsets well and put them on. All the capture operations later. All will communicate in the channel at the first opportunity. to prevent any accidents. By the way, we are now perfectly stopped in the middle of the intersection. The two of you look like this now. Can we find out how many of our people there are?" Wang Hu leaned forward, staring at the street ahead. A few seconds later, scratching his head, he awkwardly said, "Shenji, I don't see any problem. Inside this street, you can tell so quickly. Could the fish also be scared away?" "Isn't that so?" Before Zhu Chengsheng could finish speaking, I then withdrew my gaze. "Undoubtedly said. For, above this main street, there are a total of 4 people from our side." As soon as these words were spoken, Zhu Chengsheng was momentarily stunned, looked at me with immense surprise. Silence for 2 seconds. Zhu Chengsheng turned his head to stare at me. The defender asked seriously, "Xiao Ming, you can't be serious, right? Can you name the 4 people?" "The first one is the fruit stand in the center of the street, the vendor under the sunshade. The guests arrive but do not promote, but looked around and took the tourists to the shop. But it was supposed to incite tourists to spend money. But I need some fresh air. This is an abnormal action. The fourth one is the best hidden, but it's not without flaws. It's the closest one specifically for intercepting vehicles. Security does not allow entry to the pedestrian street, although there are no major issues with appearance and movement." But his expression betrayed him. "Shendi, do you know what a real intersection security guard is like? It should be impatience and irritability. Not even a half sentence wants to be spoken, rather than like it is now, patiently directing those cars to the parking lot. Of course, it can be interpreted as the first day of work. Haven't experienced the beating of such tedious work yet. Filled with curiosity about everything." But there was no expression of emotion or tension on her face. These multiple details are enough to prove their identity. Am I right, Chen Ji? After listening to this analysis, Zhu Chengsheng looked at him with eyes as if he were staring at a monster. He looked at me deeply, then hurriedly pressed the mini earpiece, shouted angrily, "Lao Chen, just sell fruit well. Don't ignore the customers when they arrive. Xiao Zhu, throw the beer on your desk away and replace it with cola. Occasionally let me have a sip. There's also Aki." The tour guide should provide appropriate explanations to the tourists afterward, instead of standing brightly outside the store. Finally, it's old Lin. When the security guard is about to get angry, where can you find a security guard patient enough to answer a driver's questions? You all scared them away with your disguise. As Zhu Chengsheng's roar came to an end, 4 plainclothes detectives. They were taken aback simultaneously. They all began to adjust their postures and expressions. They never thought. Behavior that one believes is well hidden. There are actually so many flaws. What's going on? Has Zhu Chengsheng's observation skills become this strong? They can all recognize their shortcomings. 3 seconds later, the 4 of them visibly blended harmoniously with the environment. At least if you don't observe carefully, absolutely no issues can be seen after listening to Zhu Chengsheng's roar. Wang Hu in the back seat had already opened his mouth wide, a sense of shock and confusion. "Linji, how did you see this?" I calmly put on the mini earbud. "Unconcerned. Observe more, analyze more, learn more, observe more. It won't be long. You can also see the intricacies within." Zhu Chengsheng after his roar. I vow to organize the headset. At the right moment, they sighed and continued the conversation. "Wu Sai, don't doubt yourself anymore. It's not that you're not suited to be a detective. It's just that Su Ming is the most suitable. The first time my neighbor took me out on a mission. Let me see how many people are undercover in our bureau. I feel a bit better. 3 people saw one, but the other 2 couldn't tell either. Finally understand why for so many years only Su Ming could score full marks in the criminal police recruitment assessment. All right, let's get off. According to the time of the transaction, the 2 fish will arrive in an hour. You 2 come with me. That in this transaction, the seller is a middle-aged man of average build. There are no other characteristics. Pay attention to observe later. Do not overlook any suspicious characters. The 3 of us sat in a stir-fry restaurant. Seats placed outside, although it seems like they are seriously eating and chatting, occasionally taking a few bites of the vegetables. But his gaze was always on the passing pedestrians. As time passes by, second by second, Wan Hu glanced at his phone. It has been 10 minutes past the scheduled trading time. Pick up a garlic oyster from the table and put it in your mouth, muttering in coded language. Why does this oyster taste a bit fishy? Is it broken? The meaning is the suspect awake? Zhu Chengsheng had no expression at all. Pick up a garlic oyster. I tried it and found some guidance. It's not broken. The owner probably didn't bake it long enough. We shouldn't have rushed him to bring it over just now. It means not to rush and wait a little longer. Speaking of which, do you know where the best oysters are? Just about to have a casual chat with the 2 of us. Zhu Changsheng, who is shaping himself into the guise of an ordinary tourist. A burning sour smell suddenly wafted from the tip of the nose. Suddenly stopped speaking. I also smelled this scent at the same time. He glanced with his peripheral vision. The one who just passed behind Zhu Changsheng. A thin middle-aged man dressed in construction work clothes. Immediately after that, I immediately looked at Zhu Chengsheng, nodded slightly without showing any expression, continuing from the previous topic. Zuji, I certainly know this. Speaking of this oyster, it has to be the best in Russian. I heard that the oysters in Russian have matured recently. It should be arriving at the dining table in Magic City soon. I just don't know when to hire workers to harvest. Although Wang sitting at the edge, I didn't smell that burning sour stench. But through what I just said, it seems to be about oysters. This actually indicates the appearance of the suspect. The slang for not being in a hurry to close the net. Quickly understood. Among the people who just passed by, there was a suspect in the crime. There was no hesitation at all. Wang Hu flicked his chopsticks and pretended he was done eating. He stood up and took out his phone. The boss has paid. How much does it total here? Although the ability to identify suspects is lacking. But Wang Hu's skill in snatching money is impeccable. The main point is that money is never a problem. As the middle-aged man in work clothes walked away, I stretched lazily. In fact, it was pressed onto the mini earpiece. Said softly with absolute certainty, Mecca has appeared, wearing yellow construction attire. Height is approximately 165 centimeters. The scent is clearly noticeable on the body. Dilute the lingering acrid smell of burning acid. I suggest we don't move for now, waiting for another fish to appear. My words. It sounded in the ears of Zhu Changsheng and Wan Hu as well. To prevent any accidents. Zhu Changsheng pressed the mini earphone for a moment, immediately issued a more precise command. Lao Chen, Xiao Zhu, the fish are swimming towards your side. Just follow behind. Keep the headset always on for contact at any time. As soon as the words were spoken, Old Chen's deep and rough voice followed. Emerging situation. The fish threw a cigarette box into in the bushes outside the parking lot of the pedestrian street. He blended back into the crowd, preparing to leave. Currently, Zio, Zhu, and I are following from a distance. This fish can't escape any more. Wait for another fish to appear. Zio, Zhu, and I are netting. It's obvious. All participants in this operation are veteran detectives. Everyone is very clear. If we capture Magia now, it could easily scare the buyers away. After all, daring to trade by throwing cigarette boxes. It undoubtedly illustrates. The buyer is likely communicating in real time with Magia. After the buyer also appears, simultaneous arrests were being made. Most appropriate. Zhu Changsheng stood up. He picked up the car keys from the table. Let's go. Wait in the car. The secluded alley that old Chen just mentioned. Right next to the parking lot exit. We will directly guard the earth. 2 minutes later, the three have returned to the car. Eyes fixed on the grass at the exit location. There were also a few other plainclothes officers, hidden not far away, as soon as the order is given, able to capture in real time at the first moment. Waiting at this moment, it felt particularly torturous and long. Zhu Changsheng looked at me beside him, inquired curiously, "Zio Ming, can you say something? What is the reason you were able to identify the suspect so quickly?" Just now, due to the issue of human flow, I'd only smelled a significant burning acid smell. Still haven't seen anyone. How did you come to that conclusion? As soon as these words were spoken, Wang Hu stared ahead with wide eyes, instantly perked up and chimed in. Yes, Mingch. How do you know? I didn't even smell that sour stench. So you have already identified the suspect. I truly have some doubts. Are we taking the same administration class? I squinted at the front. A rather relaxed shrug reached. The burning sour smell is hard to describe. This is already a Western-style Class 4 drug, a very notable characteristic. As for how to identify the man in the worksite uniform, it's actually very simple. First of all, Junction Road Pedestrian Street is a mature commercial tourist destination. There is no construction site nearby at all. Meanwhile, it is currently working hours on the construction site. If there's an urgent matter, come here to explain. But from the gaze of that middle-aged man, there was no sign of panic or haste, only tension and anxiety. Occasionally, he looked around, as if afraid of being discovered. And the most crucial thing is, his work clothes had no stains or dust on them. It's the afternoon now, since there's no time to change clothes. Wearing construction work clothes in such a crowded place. Is there really not a single trace on the body? There is only one possibility. That is, he didn't go to the construction site at all. Wearing clothes is just to cover up. Actually, this cellar is full of floss. The best way to hide. Should wear the sanitation worker's uniform and carrying a bag for collecting recyclables, using garbage to mask its own odor, while picking up bottles in the trash can. Throw the cigarette box containing drug number 4 next to the trash can. Just wait for the buyer to receive the goods. In that case, even if we send more people, I'm afraid it will be difficult to catch him. Wang sitting in the back seat, already opened wide, couldn't help but gasp. Mingji, do you want this exaggeration? This time, even the best methods of crime have been considered. Good thing you're a criminal detective now. Otherwise, I suspect you must become the perfect criminal. I smiled indifferently. At this moment, a muffled voice suddenly echoed through the headphones of the three people in the car. Aspiring to appear, the sound instantly put the three of them in the zone, eyes fixed on the bushes at the front exit. It's obvious. This is another undercover detective. Saw individuals with suspicious movements. Intelligence sent in advance. A few seconds later, the robust man appeared in our view, wearing an oversized black short-sleeved shirt, colorful beach shorts, wearing a pair of old flip-flops on my feet. He sports a simple, somewhat unkempt buzz cut. Even the surrounding environment was not observed. He directly picked up the cigarette box from the bushes. Immediately after, something unexpected happened. This sturdy, crew-cut man, he directly opened the cigarette box and took a look, then stuffed it into his bosom. He took out a pack of cigarettes from the pocket of the bone pouch. He directly took out a lit cigarette and started smoking. Exhale a thick cloud of smoke. He immediately took out his phone. It seems like dialing a phone number, but on the left hand holding the phone, the little finger was snapped off by a sharp object. The wound hasn't fully healed yet. Seems a bit contentious. There are still huge scars where scabs have just fallen off on the back of the hand. Now this man not only did not leave immediately, instead, they stayed in place without any fear or hesitation, smoking a cigarette while on the phone. Meanwhile, the tiny earpiece in my ear buzzed with a muffled sound again. How shall Lao Tzu handle it? I think we can just pull in the net now. Both fish have arrived now. Inquiry about whether to close the net. Zhu Tiansheng did not answer immediately. The man's bizarre condition. She slightly furrowed her brows. It seems there is some misunderstanding. I also observed carefully in the distance. I was constantly thinking in my mind. Unparalleled experience in simulating crime. Can easily capture and analyze every detail. Not right. The current situation is not right. Ordinary drug users, people are afraid of getting caught during transactions. It will be hard to clear one's name when caught red-handed. I will never be like this robust man. After obtaining the drugs, surprisingly, still standing there smoking and making a call. There are only two possibilities in this situation. That is, either this man is a reckless youth who just did drugs. The media will showcase the country's determination to combat drug trafficking, but those who can directly buy 25 grams of type 4 drugs. Absolutely impossible for it to be a clueless newbie who just got high. The second possibility is, this man is a complete outlaw. The police can no longer exert much pressure on him. The most important thing is, this man definitely has an accomplice. Moreover, it was that accomplice who made him purchase heroin number 4. Otherwise, I wouldn't be calling to report right away. One can also judge from the cigarette smoked by the sturdy man. It's not a common and easily obtainable cigarette laced with magic poison. The Changbai Mountain cigarettes, on the other hand, are quite popular in the 3 eastern provinces. The smoking action is also very skilled. Can tell they are a heavy smoker. Any old smoker. Everyone basically has their favorite brand of cigarettes. In normal circumstances, it would never be replaced. Based on the experience of 100,000 crime simulations, I can truly understand firsthand the true thoughts of a desperate outlaw. Cigarettes seem very small, but for fugitives, it's the most important psychological comfort. So now we can roughly determine that. The burly man before me, it is highly likely that a major fugitive has fled from the 3 eastern provinces to Madhu. The crimes committed were just within this month. At this moment, just as I finally sorted out my thoughts. Although it feels wrong intuitively. But Zhu Changsheng still couldn't see the problem. Finally gave up the idea of further investigation. Pressing the tiny earpiece against my ear, furrowing his brows, he spoke. Not waiting anymore. Let's start collecting now. Not finished yet. I directly interrupted his words. Quickly spoke up to stop. Wait a moment. I suspect this man is a fugitive from the Dongsan province who has fled to Madhu. And there is at least one accomplice. Don't talk about me yet." This sentence left Zhu Changshen momentarily stunned. Then he immediately reacted and said, "Added, Lao Lin, wait a moment. Don't move to grab it yet. Don't let this man out of your sight. I need to further verify their identity. You await my command." After speaking, he stared at me with a face full of confusion and disbelief. "It seems like you want to listen. How did I determine that this man was a fugitive? Moreover, he is an important fugitive from the three eastern provinces. But I have no intention of explaining right now." Turning to Wang Hu behind him, he commanded, "Weird, check the list of fugitives released in the three eastern provinces over the past month. Let's see if there are any men who look similar to him. Just pay attention to appearances." He immediately took out his phone, logged into the police internal pursuit system. "Filter out fugitives from the three northeastern provinces for the past month." Just under 30 seconds. Wang Hu glanced at his phone. Then she looked ahead to compare with the man. Suddenly they shouted out loud, "My goodness! One strike to escape the fugitive, and there are 3 lives in hand." "But show me." Zhu Chengsheng's eyes trembled in disbelief, quickly snatched Wang Hu's phone. A single blow to escape the fugitive. Name Liu Zhen, age 32, gendered male. Feature: hair is a bit long, stout build. The little finger on the left hand is missing a tip. Case overview: 15 days ago, in a few provinces, Chunji conspired with 2 others. Robbery and armed conflict at a drug trading spot in the suburbs of Chunshi. Killed 3 and injured 1. A total of over 100,000 yuan in valuables was stolen. The 3 fled south after the incident. Compared to the wanted notices released to the public. This kind of wanted information within the police system. Clearly, it needs to be more detailed. Zhu Chengsheng looked after finishing, staring at the man pretending to be dumb who is still smoking not far away. The smiley expression is uniquely present. The gaze was cold and piercing. "Goodness, I originally just wanted to catch a drug addict. I didn't expect to catch a big fish, it seems." This is the chicken fugitive named Liu Zhen. It's not about supposedly buying drug number 4. But to use this transaction as a foundation, let's do another black-on-black deal. At this point, Zhu Changsheng pressed the miniature earpiece. Immediately undeniable. The situation has changed. Added, "Laolin, this person is a fugitive from Jisheng. There is another accomplice hiding. Don't alert the snake for now. Just follow closely behind him. Never expose your whereabouts." When he went to find the other 2 fugitives, to capture everyone in one go. "By the way, Lao Chen, Xiao Zhu, you all follow that fish to cast the net first, right? Please pay attention. Is the fish you are following making a phone call? You must wait until he doesn't call before you gather the net. I am worried. Just now, that fugitive called that fish, just to gain trust and arrange a further meeting. Let's do another round of black on black." After issuing the command, Zhu Chengsheng let out a sigh. A look of fear crossed their face. If I had just directly hit that man, it will definitely alert the other 2 hidden fugitives. At that time, the 2 fugitives, realizing they had been discovered by the police, felt there was no escape. What kind of things will be done? I really can't imagine. Put aside the tangled thoughts in your mind. Zhu Chengsheng looked at me with a complex expression, sighed in admiration. "Su Mei, you really surprised me. You were able to notice something was wrong so keenly. If we can catch those 3 fugitives all at once later, You have definitely accomplished something great. But I'm a bit curious. What is the reason? Can you identify this man who bumped into you? Is he a major fugitive from the three eastern provinces? Wang Hu in the back seat quickly leaned forward, urgently urged on. Yes, Minji. You quickly say it. How was this fugitive discovered? Share some experience. No special skills, as long as you can cultivate it. Every once in a while, look at the wanted notice released by the internal platform. You can do it too. I just felt the same way. The man who bumped into me looks familiar, but I'm not sure, so I just brought it up. The reason it doesn't leave a deep impression. It's also because he shaved his long hair into a buzz cut right. Without a doubt, this explanation makes a lot of sense. After all, there are indeed quite a few criminal police officers. Everyone has the habit of occasionally checking for wanted fugitives. Zhu Chengshen let out 2 clicks of his tongue, still filled with admiration and praise. Regardless of the analysis, still have the habit of watching for wanted fugitives. Xiaoming, you can consider this a great achievement. Getting promoted ahead of schedule won't be difficult then. Just relax and wait a moment. Let's see when this fugitive will meet up with others. As everyone quietly waited, detectives Lao Chen and Zhao Zhu. I also found a secluded place. Directly capture and apprehend the seller. Perhaps knowing this time will be the third attack. Moreover, there are quite a number of customers for the drugs being sold, even if I don't eat peanuts. It will also take over a decade to spend in prison. The seller with the nickname Beast Dog. I was so scared that my whole body trembled, unable to say a complete sentence. As the Beast Dogs were captured, everyone involved in this operation, everyone's attention was focused on that fugitive. It's just that everyone was puzzled. A full 10 minutes passed. This is a level 1 fugitive named Luo Zhen. They are always wandering in the pedestrian street. There are no other actions at all. I even had time to go to the store and buy a new pair of pants, changed out of the original beach shorts. But she often takes out her phone to check. This appearance, as if waiting for some kind of command. Su Changsheng's mother chuckled, gazing intensely in thought. Press the miniature earpiece. Aki Lao Lin, have the 2 of you been exposed? Let this big fish wake up. That's why he intentionally lingered on the pedestrian street, not planning to meet with the other 2 people. Not done talking yet. Zhu Changsheng then overturned his own suspicion. Are you saying? The problem lies with the captured Beast Dog. The 3 fugitives planned to turn on each other, but because of the 2 hidden people, could not get in touch with the Beast Dog. So it is believed that Shu Gu and Luo Zhen have been exposed. There is only this reason. This explains why Luo Zhen never leads, and occasionally took out their phone to check. It's obvious. As an experienced detective, Zhu Changsheng's deductive ability is quite strong. Immediately thought of the source of the problem. Soon the alliance communicated. Lao Chen, Xiao Zhu, you will immediately take the recently confiscated items. Take out your Beast Dog phone and take a look. Are there any messages or missed calls? I suspect those 3 fugitives are in contact with the Beast Dogs. Several seconds later, a response came through everyone's earpiece. Lao Tzu, there are indeed 2 missed calls. The most recent one was 2 minutes ago. Because Xiao Zhu and I weren't paying attention, I just missed this call. But I estimate they won't take long. They will call again. But the key now is that old trickster Beast Dog. Now, I can't even say a word out of fear. As soon as the phone is answered, everything will be revealed. I estimate that no one answered the phone twice. The two escaped convicts are about to wake up. Can't wait for the beast dog to calm down. The situation at this moment is very tricky. It is likely that there will be no way to trace it. As Tan grew increasingly urgent, I pressed the tiny earpiece. He said with unmatched confidence, "Chenji, can you quickly get the beast dog and the phone? Should we take it to Shangji?" Translation error. The words I speak, both Zhu Changsheng and Wang Hu were momentarily stunned, with a look of surprise and confusion. Zhu Changsheng asked seriously, "Xiao Ming, are you sure? You can imitate the beast dog's voice in such a short time. It can also keep the other two fugitives from hearing it." Zhu Changsheng said with utmost caution. "Once again they escaped. The problem will become more complicated to handle." I didn't answer right away, but instead he tugged at his own throat. After a brief adaptation, 2 sounds later, he spoke in a voice almost identical to Zhu Changsheng's. "Chenji, I think we can give it a try. I originally wanted to be a voice actor in high school, so after practicing voice changing for a while, I can mimic almost any voice. Moreover, the phone will have some distortion. Most people definitely won't notice the problem." Wang Hu sitting in the back seat, hearing my changed voice, eyes filled with shock and awe. In my heart, I couldn't help but complain. We all attended the class together. Why do I feel like a worthless person? Zhu Changsheng then restrained his astonishment. "The urgent task is to capture these 3 high-level fugitives." Without hesitation, I pressed the earpiece. "Lao Chen, quickly bring the beast dog over. Make sure the other 2 fugitives don't wake up. Otherwise, it would be troublesome." As the order was given, old Chen was on his way back to the police station with his beast dog. Immediately turned the car around. Hurry towards the location where the 3 of us are. 3 minutes later, an off-road vehicle drifts into the garage. Stopped next to Zhu Changsheng's car. Lao Chen directly subdued the beast dog. "Quickly stuff it into Zhu Changsheng's car. Take out the phone wrapped in plastic and chant the spell. Lao Zhu." The 2 fugitives called again. "If we don't handle it soon, I feel like they are about to run away again. The situation is urgent." Not waiting for others to remind, I immediately took action. "Look at the trembling beast dog." Said without a hint of emotion, "Beast dog, say something to me right now, but only thinking about going in this time. What exactly do we need to eat peanuts? It's still the same old beast dog that sits on the ground. I can't even say a complete sentence. Just slightly parted lips. But aside from the word me, the beast dog can never manage to let out even a half-hearted bark. However, time and circumstances do not wait for anyone. Asterisk slap asterisk." A light slap echoed. The beast dog showed a look of terror and panic. A clear 5-finger red mark appeared on the right cheek. Everyone present quickly raised their heads, looked at me with immense disgust. I never expected I would make such a move, but I seemed completely indifferent. Just stared coldly at the beast dog. Say something. Look at me like that. A cold gaze that seems to have killed countless people. The psychological pressure on the beast dog suddenly grew even greater than that of Laodai sitting on a cushion. Hastily shouted in panic, "Officer, what are you saying? What do you want me to say? I really don't know." Under terrifying pressure, the beast dog finally spoke a complete sentence. I withdrew my gaze from old Chen's phone and took the plastic bag. Translation error. Take out the beast dog's phone. Glanced at Zhu Changsheng. Spoke in a rather serious tone. "Chenji, cannot place all hope. Put the fugitive named Liu Zhen in a meeting with the other 2 people. So you'd better be ready when I pick up this call. Immediately summon the technical staff from the team. Start tracking the location of this phone number. Even if these two fugitives immediately change their SIM cards. To ensure a black market deal goes smoothly, the transaction location should not be changed. Using two methods for tracking is the safest approach. I need to answer the phone now. Everyone, please do not make a sound, to avoid raising suspicion from these two fugitives. My words instantly reminded Zhu Changshang. Immediately pushed open the car door and signaled to have the beast dog pulled away. At the same time, contact the technical department of the criminal investigation team. Conduct a phone number trace. At that moment, I answered the phone, turned on the loudspeaker. He shouted impatiently in a voice not much different from that of a beast. "Hello, who is it? Why do you keep calling? Are you in a hurry to die?" Layazi is feeling great right now, although the beast's dogs seem a bit cowardly now. But I can roughly judge that. Translation error. And also has a way to source the fourth type of drug. Usually, when doing things, one tends to be extremely arrogant. Otherwise, this transaction won't leave me reeking of burning acid. He simply put on a worker's outfit and arrived at Junction Road. So using this tone and attitude to answer the phone is naturally the most appropriate. 3 seconds later, just as I thought, the two level 1 fugitives who were hiding. Not only did he not express dissatisfaction with his own attitude, instead he smiled indifferently. "Dodgy, I have already received that headless cargo. That is truly pure, compared to the other magazine merchants. I don't know how much better it has gotten." As soon as these words were spoken, everyone in the car has completely confirmed. As I just mentioned, these two hidden fugitives. I didn't hear any problems at all. They all treat me as a beast. I didn't have any emotional fluctuations. Still using an impatient tone. "Bunbuds, isn't that how it should be? Why don't you just go to Magic City and ask someone, can that store's merchandise be better than my beast dog? Do you understand who is in charge of this area? Stop talking nonsense. Go ahead and pull it out properly. Without a head, I still can't kill you." Hung up. After speaking, I hung up the phone without hesitation. The youngest and most inexperienced Wang Hu. I thought I had caught a big fish. I just hung up the phone. Suddenly stunned, hurriedly anxious. "Mingji, what is this for? Wasn't there no problem just now? Why did you suddenly hang up the phone?" I pressed my hand down, interrupted Wang Hu's subsequent words. "Pick up the phone, that is ringing again." Gave a quick glance at the few people present. Quite calm and confident. It was just a situation. The true contest. It has only just begun. This fugitive has someone's life in their hands. That is the true meaning of a desperate outlaw, and a startled bird. A little unusual. Translation error. As long as you're caught. It's about a peanut. This point, Yuo Zhen, who was sent out for a deal, was still wandering around the pedestrian street. It can be seen without receiving the return command, when you are sure you haven't been discovered by the police. The two of them would be careful beyond measure, once the heart reveals its secrets. Then it will become a desperate outlaw capable of anything. So, the reason I hung up the phone first was, it's all about feigning weakness to gain the upper hand, to completely relax the vigilance of the two fugitives. After all, in the heart of a fugitive, the normal police are trying to catch them. I wouldn't want to hang up the phone. Impressive. This detail handling. Not finished yet. Lao Chen hurriedly stopped speaking. "Because I have already answered the phone call that the other party made immediately. set to external speaker. Imitating the beast dog's voice, the machine impatiently said, "Isn't the one afraid of horses seeking death?" Layazi said it all. "I'm enjoying it right now. Why do they keep calling about trivial matters?" My rough and irritable tone. Not only did it not anger the two fugitives. Instead, it feels even more reassuring. Don't rush, dog brother. Don't rush. If I don't have a loud intention here, how dare I disturb you when you are at your peak? I'm sorry to disturb you with a call. This doesn't have a loud meaning. Is there an urgent matter? A smirk appeared at the corner of my mouth. Loud intent. It seems they are already eager for a backstab. Loud intent. What more can you shout about? This represents technical department of the administrative team, already connected through the phone number. We have confirmed these two. The major affair of the hidden fugitive. I continue to say that two small white pieces. Do you know how much it costs? Can you eat it? Thought the skinny dog was caught in a trap. Two fugitives planning to betray each other. There was not the slightest hesitation. Oh dear. Don't worry, dog brother. My brother and I came all the way from Jilin province. It's all for making a loud statement. Don't worry about whether you can eat it. However, because this quantity is really large, we are also afraid of you, the local tyrant. So the trading location will be provided by us. Just choose at. How was the abandoned factory in the outskirts of Donaming District, Magic City? Upon hearing this location, I immediately looked at Zhu Changsheng beside me. Try with a glance. The communication address locked in with the technology department is basically consistent. At that time, wait for the three major fugitives to gather. Let's catch them all at once. Then Lao Chen and Xiao Lai. After you brought the skinny dog back to the team, come back immediately and gather with us. There's nothing worth saving for this skinny dog. Now you're this cowardly. In addition, they had gained a huge haul of stolen goods. Just wait inside for the court's verdict. As for what others say, organize the gear and put on the police uniform. The most important capture operation begins. As the arrest order was issued, Weihai District Criminal Investigation Team and Donaming District Criminal Investigation Team immediately sprang into action, due to the extreme danger posed by these three high-level fugitives. The fully armed SWAT team is already dressed and ready to eliminate all possible accidents. They also sent two professional SWAT snipers. At that time, I will be stationed at a high point as the final line of defense. Zhu Changsheng, now dressed in a police uniform, sat in the police car, making the final preparations. Draw the service pistol from the waist. After checking carefully twice, looking at me and Wang Hu beside him, shaking his head, feeling a bit helpless. It's the first day I'm taking you out on a mission. I never expected to encounter such a large-scale arrest operation. I really don't know whether to say it's good luck or what, but I just spoke to the neighbor. This time, we were able to catch these three high-level fugitives. You played a crucial role, especially Su Ming. It can be said that it was almost entirely by one's own effort. We rescued these three fugitives. There will definitely be a reward by then. At this moment, inside the abandoned factory in the eastern suburban area of Dongling, the burly fugitive Luo Zhen just returned from the pedestrian street. Translation error. Constantly polishing the stone. Next to him, a man was bare-chested. The bald fugitive with the exposed dragon tattoo was wrapped in gauze on the palm. Prevent accidental slips and counterattacks when wielding a knife. After wrapping the gauze, the bald fugitive glanced at the last sales fugitive beside him, furrowed her brows, and coldly snorted, Stop fucking smoking already. The other party is about to arrive. You're still here puffing away. Translation error. Don't cause me any trouble. 2 full blocks of heroin. This job will be enough for the 3 of us to escape for several years. When the wind stops blowing, it's not impossible for us to return to our province again. As soon as I heard the scolding voice, the sales fugitive showed visible signs of dissatisfaction, but dared not refute the bald fugitive. Bring back the headless heroin from the trafficker. Temporarily set it aside. He picked up an axe, feeling a bit impatient. Dodgy. Can it work this time? The beast dog really will because of our phone call. Just bring 2 small white ones for the trade. I always feel like something is not quite right. In theory, people like Shugu should be very timid and afraid of death before the salesperson could finish speaking. Knock, knock, knock. Outside the iron gate of the abandoned factory. Then there was a loud, urgent knocking at the door. The bald fugitive glanced over. Nu lanu sui tai men chi dao. You see, isn't this here now? Even the most timid beast dogs. Why wouldn't he earn money if he can, let alone such a big business? Go open the iron gate. No matter how many people come later. When I shouted to take action, first let's take care of San. I saw someone knocking on the door. The drug-addicted fugitive salesman's excitement was evident, leaping forward towards the iron gate. However, just as the key was about to unlock the door, HMPH, a loud kick echoed through the door. The old iron gate was kicked down, pressing down on the sales fugitive. Ling fell into a coma. Immediately after that, 2 canisters of tear gas emitting pungent white smoke. It was silently thrown into the factory from outside the door. This sudden situation, the bald fugitive was taken aback, then hurriedly shouted in panic. "Ka, Ajen, the green robe has arrived. Aye. Hurry and run. Let's fight our way out with the knife." Changing to a green outfit also earns a profit. Inhalation of irritating gases. The bald fugitive, choked and sweating profusely, fled, just as I was about to pick up the machete on the ground. Asterisk, bang, asterisk. The muffled sound of the sniper rifle firing echoed. The bald fugitive's arm exploded in an instant. The intense pain brought him to the ground, unable to stop screaming. The strongest and most robust fugitive, already wearing gas masks. The special police holding a riot shield pressed down on the ground. A Mossa rifle still rests on his head. Zhu Qingshen followed closely behind the special police. Seeing that the 3 have been completely subdued, immediately pressed the mini earpiece. The capture operation has successfully concluded. Call the doctor in immediately. 2 fugitives were seriously injured due to resistance. Thank you for your hard work, everyone. Gather the team. The arrest operation after identifying the suspect. Basically, everything is extremely quick and accurate. Will not give the suspect any chance to resist or escape, especially facing such a ferocious outlaw. The major criminal investigation teams will not blindly conduct arrests on their own. They will generally have fully armed special police assist in the capture. The sniper bullet that precisely hit the arm of the bald fugitive. This further illustrates this point. I would rather let these fugitives have only 1 breath left. We can't let them resist fiercely. Unnecessary casualties occurred during the capture. Midnight. Dozens of police cars drove orderly back to the Huihai Criminal Investigation Brigade, except for the bald fugitive hit by the sniper rifle. Emergency surgery is underway in the hospital. Several people were specifically sent to control the care outside. The other 2 fugitives who didn't suffer serious injuries. Immediately conduct a surprise interrogation to dig out specific details of the case. In the office of the Criminal Investigation Team, Wang, who held 2 bowls of freshly made instant noodles, looking at Su Ming, who is sitting on the chair deep in thought. My feelings are still a bit excited. Mingji, what are you thinking about? Are you still thinking about the recent capture operation? To be honest, participating in such a capture operation on the first day of work. Who would believe it if I said it? But it's truly unexpected. These 3 fugitives from Dusheng actually ran to Madu. I feel it's better to go to a more remote, small city. Perhaps it's easier to hide. Su Ming casually took a bowl of instant noodles. He skillfully flipped the dough with a fork, shook his head and retorted, "Guzi, you're assuming too much. The small city is not complicated due to its population. The goals of these 3 individuals will be even greater. At least it's not as easy to hide as in Magic City. Of course, the most crucial reason they do not choose small cities is originally it was about making a big profit through shady deals. To continue with the idea of fleeing, those small towns probably don't have cellars as big as Shugu. In fact, their choice at the beginning was wrong. A fugitive who will be caught and have to eat peanuts. There are also those addicts who are being heavily monitored by the police, engaging in black-on-black crime. Probably think of themselves as black eats black won't draw our attention, able to easily pick up a large sum of money. It was used to continue the escape. Never mind, let's not talk about this anymore. There are too many problems and points of contention. There is really no need to review. It is obvious. Su Ming's chaotic choices in the escape of the 3 fugitives. I really don't know how to evaluate and analyze this. It's just unbearable to look at. If it were him speaking, there are dozens of ways, easily escaping this pursuit. Wang, who was sitting beside, after listening to Su Ming's analysis and explanation. In a moment, his mouth was wide open, filled with shock. Even the instant noodles slipping off the fork went unnoticed. Then took a deep breath of cool air. Just as I was about to say something, Zhu Chengshen walked out of the interrogation room, now dressed in civilian clothes. He casually tossed his police uniform onto his seat. They looked at Su Ming and smiled. Quickly throw away the instant noodles in your hand. On the first day at the administrative team. The reason for eating instant noodles while working overtime. From now on, you will have plenty of opportunities to eat. Let's go have a late-night snack. In the night market less than 3 kilometers from the administrative team, Zhu Chengsheng found a spot against the wall to sit down. Skillfully pull out the menu. Casual and unpretentious. How about it? You don't have any dietary restrictions, right? If there are no dietary restrictions, then let's order according to our team's old habit. After completing the task, everyone enjoys coming here for late-night snacks and relaxation. After all, we are in this profession. When I get busy, I really don't have time to eat. Wang, who's sitting opposite, opening a beer with a screwdriver, asked with some curiosity, "Brother Sheng, I'm a bit curious. In theory, whether it's the beast dog or the 3 fugitives, the crimes committed are all serious. Later, we might all have to eat peanuts. But why? Interrogation can be this quick. It feels like it only took a few minutes to finish the review. As the nominal master of the 2, this is a question about criminal behavior. Zhu Chengsheng certainly would not conceal anything. Placed the filled menu on the table. Shook his head. "Husey, you got that wrong. It's because the crimes they committed are all very serious. Moreover, they all belong to the category of conclusive evidence. That's why the interrogation can be done so quickly, except for the bald fugitive who was stopping the bleeding. The other two fugitives have already acknowledged they won't escape. Or say, ironclad evidence like a mountain. They have no way to argue about anything. The criminal police of Jisheng received the news immediately, set off and rushed over. I should arrive on the road by tomorrow morning. At that time, these three will be handed over to Zhejiang Bayan Qi. Translation error, although it seems they have already been scared to death. But to uncover the heavy rain that follows, it's probably not that simple. It will take quite some effort. Speaking of which, Su Ming is always deep in thought. It was the right time to talk on the street. I think Dai Lu is not a beast dog and does not want to speak. But he didn't know what important information was at all. Even the previous owner is unknown. After all, dare to be in a place like Magic City, selling so much of the number 4 drug to the beasts, you must have already made all sorts of preparations. A single line of contact is fundamental. The people above can't dig it out. You can only dig downwards. It's probably just some small-time addicts. There's no need to rush at all. His statement. Zhu Chengsheng nodded slightly with sweaty palms, took a big gulp of the beer in front of him, expressed with great satisfaction. Xiao Ming, I really don't know how to compliment you. Regardless of today's actions, still going back to the case. Your terrifying thoughts. Really, this is the material for our line of work. By the way, my neighbor just mentioned it to me. You two will go find him early tomorrow morning. It seems we are going to talk about the confirmation of employment. On the first day of the internship, I achieved merit and got promoted to a permanent position. This truly breaks the record. The next day, in the parking lot of the Hue High Criminal Investigation Team, early in the morning, 7 or 8 vehicles stopped. Police escort vehicles with several province licenses. It's obvious. This is confirmed 100% by the Hue High Criminal Investigation Team. The 3 men were fugitives from several provinces. Immediately notify the local police to come, since the case occurred in several provinces. So no matter whether it's trial or prosecution, the case is concluded. All will be handled in several provinces. Nature needs to come and escort. Moreover, under the pressure of the current murder case, these 3 underlings, a fugitive with a death sentence has gone missing. It must be the police from several provinces. The pressure during this period is immense. After the most sincere gratitude, several provincial police escorted the 3 escaped prisoners onto the transport vehicle, just waiting for the court's further judgment. Or say, the day the death sentence was pronounced. At this moment, in the office of the head of the criminal investigation team, Lin Tian looked at Su Ming and Wang Hu in front of him. Sipping a mouthful of clear tea, he exclaimed in admiration, Yesterday's capture operation, your little Zhu. They have already told me in detail. Specific situation. I also have a general understanding now. So Su Ming, I really have to praise you. In that kind of situation, accurately identifying the suspect's issues, timely stop the arrest operation, avoid waking the hidden fugitive. Moreover, still maintaining the necessary calmness. The other 2 fugitives were brought out. Hiding place. This requires a strong mental fortitude. Not bad. Really good. Can take the criminal investigation exam. The first perfect score in history. It seems there is indeed something here. Of course, Wan Hu is also quite good. During yesterday's capture operation, I have also done my part. Discovery and capture of 3 class of fugitives. This truly counts as a significant achievement. So I just thought seriously for a moment. Speaking of which, Lin Tian paused for 2 seconds. He lightly tapped the table and continued. Soon, both of you will go sign the transfer contract, transitioning from internship status to probationary period. In theory, every newly certified rookie all require a year of internship. However, considering the merit of capturing the fugitive, Su Ming, you only need a 3-month probation period. You can apply for a gun permit. Wan, who is shortened by half. You can switch certificates in 6 months. At the same time, the police have also issued a reward. So each of you, everyone can receive a bonus of 5,000. Don't think it's too little, okay? After all, capturing criminals is. It's what we should do. The bonus amount will definitely not be too much, no matter from what angle you look at it. This time, the High Criminal Investigation Team. The reward given. It really is quite impressive. Early transfer of the certificate. Shorten the internship period. This is a real benefit. It's not about empty words and encouragement. A bonus of 5,000 is quite a windfall. Su Ming and Wan Hu exchanged a glance. They coincidentally entered with a salute. Thank you, neighbor. Lin Tian waved his hand. Let the two of them not be so polite. It's just about rewards and recognition. This is the reward you deserve. No need to say thank you for this. And I remember, you too. Are you still living in the school dormitory? If you find commuting troublesome, you can move here. The dormitory of our criminal investigation team. The dormitory in the brigade is empty anyway. You move in. It also facilitates future commutes and handle various matters. Of course, during this internship period, you two should think carefully as well. In the future, we will focus on frontline investigations, still focusing on the Criminal Investigation Technology Department. In any case, the importance of criminal investigation technology, not any worse than solving cases on the front line. All right, there are no other matters to discuss. You all go ahead and get busy. After finishing these words, Lin Tian no longer looked at Su Ming and Wan Hu. She focused her attention on the stack on the desk, on the urgent case file. Just as Su Ming was about to leave the office, Lin Tian suddenly seemed to remember something, quickly lifted his head and continued to run away. That's right. Su Ming, I heard it from Xiao Zhu. Your ability to capture the details of the case is impressive. So I need to give you an additional task for now. If you have free time these days, please turn the page. Translation error. Try to see as much as possible. Can any new clues and information be discovered? Of course, this case has been going on for a long time. Just do your best. It's best to uncover some clues. Unable to find. Then let's just forget it. Because this crime was too perfect, making it impossible to uncover the crucial clues. It's obvious. This was an extremely brutal and vicious incident. For a full 20 years, the unsolved case of the dismembered body where the murderer has never been found. It has become a new illness of Lin Tian. Otherwise, there are so many unsolved cases. They wouldn't specifically mention this dismemberment case, pinning hopes on the exceptionally talented Su Ming for solving the case. What details can be found in the files? Su Ming stopped at the door, hearing that we need to analyze this case, not just in Magic City, even the unsolved case that is extremely famous throughout the Dragon Kingdom. Couldn't help but raise an eyebrow. A deeper sense of curiosity and anticipation stirred within. He nodded with sweaty palms. Understood. Neighbor, I will check the detailed case file of this dismemberment case later. Let's see if we can find any new clues. After leaving Lin Tian's office, Just now, Wang Hu, who didn't dare to say much, immediately became excited in the hallway. He swung his fist hard and said, "Whoa, Brother Ming, this time we owe you a lot. I can't believe I can skip the internship period too. No need to wait until graduation to start the internship, and it only requires a 6-month internship. This is truly exhilarating. If the others in the class find out, I guess everyone will be incredibly envious. After all, this has indeed saved a significant amount of time. While others are still interning, we all need to get guns now." "Right. Minji, you said I should focus on frontline investigative work." Still inclined towards criminal investigation technology. Since university began, Wang Hu took Su Ming as the leader to test the situation, a long-standing friendship between the two. It's only natural to take some credit without being too polite. Moreover, Wang Hu can ask Su Ming to help choose different focus areas. It further reveals the relationship between the two. Su Ming looked Wang Hu up and down. He sighed deeply with regret. I think you shouldn't be so fixated on frontline investigations. Based on my observations over the past few years, you really aren't cut out for this. But you are looking at the sky eye monitoring and various investigative techniques. You do have quite the talent. Can further my studies in this area. Translation error. Can fulfill your wish." This statement, Ling Wangu was taken aback for a moment. Just as I was about to argue what it means to lack the talent for solving cases, I remember how Su Ming single-handedly the process of uncovering the 3 hidden fugitives. Silence for 2 seconds. Without his tone, look up at the surveillance camera. Muttered to himself, "Sigh, just look at the heavenly eye. As long as I can carry a gun, that's all that matters." As Wang Hu was talking to himself, Su Ming has returned to his seat. Open the internal system. Called out 20 years ago. Translation error. As the loading screen finishes, looking at the thousands of pages of electronic documents, Su Ming slightly squinted. The eyes murmured, "Here it comes. Let me have a good look." This unresolved case has lingered for 20 years. How perfect can it really be? The vast majority of criminal cases, the case files generally do not exceed 200 pages. This unsolved dismemberment case, the case files totaled thousands of pages. It even almost broke through the 5-digit barrier. This is enough to show the authorities' emphasis on this case. Even so, it is still important. This case from 20 years ago, not even a possible suspect has been found. So much so that it was called the perfect crime by everyone. During my time studying at the police academy, Su Ming had heard many guests talk about their teachers, mentioned this case. This time I can personally examine the specific case files. Naturally, it made him feel a certain unexplainable excitement. Of course, I would love to take a look. This case has remained unsolved for nearly 20 years. Is there really such perfection? Open the electronic document content. Su Ming did not choose to go through the documents one by one. After all, there are thousands of pages in the electronic case file. If you want to carefully go through it page by page, it's estimated that it can't be done in less than 10 days to half a month. So let's jump directly to the record of the deceased's body. View the photos taken at the investigation scene. Upon careful analysis, with the experience of simulating over 100,000 crimes, Su Ming is very clear. The clues and information contained in the victim's body are extremely important. Most murders are difficult to solve. We must start from the direction of the corpse. Next second. Several chilling case photos. appearing on the screen. The first photo. It is a bag of cooked meat slices wrapped in a black plastic bag. The size and shape of the meat slices are almost uniform. It's no different from the beef at the usual marinade shop. But translation error. A boiled half finger looks extremely out of place. The broken and lifted nail on top is even more ferocious and terrifying. It can be said. Translation error. It might make the unsuspecting person drool. Then, as long as I see you again. Then the half finger would directly cause the scalp to explode. Nauseous and retching. All appetite suddenly vanished. Translation error. But behind the scenes, next to it is a passage of text. Description of this photo. May 13, 2003. Huing Luan, a sanitation worker in Hue High District. 5 a.m. In the garbage bin of the alley on the eastern section of Renmin Street. The victim's body was found in this bag. At first, Huing Luan thought it was discarded beef. Fold it up and prepare to take it home to eat. 6 p.m. Preparing to process the victim's organized remains. Discover a suspected person pointing at an object. He panicked and called the police. Through DNA identification, the object inside this black plastic bag all came from the same person's cooked body tissue. The Hue High Criminal Investigation Team immediately opened a case, confirmed the identity of the deceased for the students of Mada University, and found in the remaining places remaining human tissue after this description. It is another 4 discoveries. Images of the victim's body at the scene. Among them, there are 3 copies that are the same as this photo. It is made of black plastic, bagged cooked meat slices. The size and shape are also quite similar. And the last photo, the victim was chopped up and cooked. Hair loss, skin bursting, a skull that can no longer be recognized by its specific features. To say without exaggeration, even if it's just a picture. But this terrifying impact can make most detectives feel physiological nausea, even having nightmares for several days. I dare not touch any piece of meat again. However, Su Ming at this moment felt nothing as he flipped through them one by one. In the gaze of serious analysis, there was no trace of panic or discomfort at all. Only a slight, deep-seated numbness. Or rather, now, even in the most horrific crime scene, will not let Su Ming any tension. After looking at these 5 photos, Su Ming leaned back comfortably in the chair, squinting slightly. Let's start analyzing it seriously. Victim's body discovered. The date is May 13th, but the approximate time of death is. It was around May 11th. It is not May 12th, because on those tissues of the bodies belonging to the master, it is clearly visible within the muscles. There are dark red blood spots. This is after a person dies. The heart has lost its ability to pump. Blood flows down through the network of blood vessels, the result of capillary action. This is commonly referred to as livor mortis. Livor mortis occurs 2 to 4 hours after death, will gradually emerge after 12-14 hours, reaching the pinnacle of development. Finally, it will be fixed within 24 to 36 hours. No more transfers will occur based on the number of livor mortis on the body, and some are easy to disperse. There is no 100% reliable corpse spots to analyze. The killer did not choose to commit the murder afterwards, immediately dismember the victim and cook them, but was left for a while, slowly processing the victim's body. The time is approximately 12 to 24 hours after the crime was committed. Put the victim in a certain place to be cooked, proceeding with the horrific dismemberment. From this point we can analyze that the murderer is likely not a random attacker, It was premeditated, very confident in his crime scene. It won't be discovered by others in a short time. Only then will it be so leisurely, by the time the livor mortis had fully set in. Only then did the dismemberment begin, since it was a premeditated crime. So no matter what, they had long been targeting the victim. They still randomly select suitable people to commit crimes. The method of dismemberment alone, they can all judge. The killer has an excellent psychological quality. Either I've grown accustomed to such bloody scenes, either they have an antisocial personality, or perhaps the mental state is not right. After all, stealing the body of the master piece by piece, even the shapes and sizes are nearly identical. It's not to cover up a crime. Chop and cut casually. It can be further inferred that the killer has excellent knife skills. At least I'm very good at cutting meat. Otherwise, it wouldn't be so neat. It could also be extremely severe obsessive compulsive disorder, because on certain human tissues it can be clearly seen, marks of secondary cutting and trimming. But obsessive compulsive disorder cannot be determined with absolute certainty. This belongs to, can filter out important details from numerous criminal suspects. Baseless speculation. You might fall into the trap of the killer's lair because of simulated crime. Su Ming was also involved in the case. Leave almost 100% certainty. Signs of obsessive compulsive disorder to clear his own suspicions, as part of the perfect crime. This moment, Su Ming looked at the 5 pictures on the computer. I organized my thoughts in my mind. Nan Nan murmured to herself, based on the first scene photos of the 5 victims' bodies. The clues that can be roughly outlined are: the murderer had long planned this crime. The crime scene has facilities for handling corpses, and very concealed. Even at Magic City University, reported the student's disappearance immediately. The murderer can also be 100% certain. The police won't find him there. Has a very strong resistance to corpses, having years of experience dealing with similar situations. Or perhaps a naturally antisocial personality. The knife skills are excellent, and may have obsessive compulsive disorder. According to these 5 photos, it seems possible to determine the profile of the murderer. Translation error, or similar to the marinated ingredients at a roast duck shop, familiar processing shop. This inference seems very thorough, but it is definitely not the correct answer. Otherwise, this case, it won't be broken even after 20 years. It's obvious, although I haven't seen the later dossier. But Su Ming could roughly guess. The original Huey High Criminal Investigation Team. Absolutely the first time. Just go investigate the slaughterhouse workers and the nearby roast duck restaurant. Just as Su Ming was about to continue looking, the content of the subsequent case files is: Zhu Changsheng in police uniform quickly walked into the office. With a grand gesture, he declared, "Sio Mayanhuzi, you two first put down what you have in your hands. Hang in there. Let's go on a mission together. Just received a police report. A fisherman on the Huanan River in our jurisdiction. A body was pulled out. Now let's take a look at the specifics. Is it suicide or homicide? If it's a murder case, it must be broken within 24 hours. Departure. Hurry up. The case must be solved. It's not just a slogan shouted for show, but it was in 2004, an order issued by the Ministry of Public Security to various grassroots levels. Strive to increase the intensity of the pursuit. Reduce the occurrence of criminal events. The reality aligns with the expectations of the higher-ups, due to the pressure of solving the murder case. Various grassroots criminal investigation organizations Attitude and efficiency towards murder cases clearly increased several times. Almost 95% of homicides, all can be solved within 48 hours. This period is known as the golden 48 hours. Among them, another report was received. After discovering the victim's body, 24 hours for a crime, the vast majority of key clues find out during this time. Increase in case-solving efficiency. Nature also allows many criminals with a sense of luck, faced with such aggressive pursuit methods, timid and unwilling to commit another crime. A timely police car on the highway stopped near the remote Huanan River in the suburbs. Although Magic City is a big city, however, there are still many suburbs, sparsely populated. Huanan River is such a place, except for the nearby residents and the fishermen. Basically, very few people stroll by the riverbank. At this moment, 3 people got out of the police car, seeing from a distance. There is a large area in the middle of the river channel. Mark the area of the city with caution tape. Outside the region, there are still many elderly people joining in the fun, pointing fingers on the hand. It seems to be a discussion, speculating about some rumors. Zhu Chengsheng frowned, stepped forward and shouted, "Why join the fun? Why join the commotion? Even the dead can join in the fun. Hurry up and disperse. Do not interfere with our police investigation." This cry, translation error. But there was no sign of leaving at all. Everyone is standing outside the caution line, standing on tiptoe to observe the current situation. Zhu Chengsheng did not say anything more. I glanced at Su Ming and Wang Hu beside me, spoke softly, after discovering the corpse. Nearby public security officers already arrived at the blockade first, and led the salvage team. The body has been retrieved. It hasn't been placed in the fruit bag yet. We need to determine the approximate cause of death. Is there a need to initiate the attack speed? If it was a suicide or an accidental drowning, then let's go out and get some proof. The case can be closed now. But if it was murder, it might get a bit troublesome. This statement. Ling Su Ming nodded in agreement. It seemed that Wang Hu noticed the confusion in his eyes. Show the explanation. Body found in the water. Basically the first scene. They have no reference significance at all. After all, no one knows. Where did you drift over from? We can only salvage it first. Determine the approximate cause of death. If there is a probability of homicide, then it's time to launch the attack speed based on the current environment. I personally think the probability of accidental falling into water, it's already very small because of the elderly men and women around. Everyone is pointing and whispering. I wonder who this deceased person is. This indicates the deceased definitely isn't a resident from around here. Probability of accidental drowning. You don't have to worry. As for suicide and homicide, further identification is needed. I need to see the body with my own eyes. Only then can it be determined. Zhu Chengsheng nodded in agreement. I didn't expect Su Ming to think so quickly. You can tell from the expressions and words of these elderly people. Eliminate the possibility of accidental drowning. With a wave of his hand, he said, Xiao Ming, your judgment is very sharp. All right then. Soon it will just be you and Husey. First, regarding this corpse, to conduct preliminary assessments and inspections. I will be your gatekeeper. If there are still questions about Su Ming, then we'll call the forensic expert to come over for a detailed examination. The forensic pathologist is usually very busy. Not only do I need to help solve the case, There are still many public displays of grief to be done, and post-mortem cause of death identification. So the vast majority of criminal police officers. There is a preliminary identification of the body. Ability to analyze clues. I really have no clue. Only then will they call the forensic expert to save the situation. The three walked inside the caution line. In sight was a swollen body, puffy face, pale horror. There are still some decaying female corpses. Overall, the appearance of this corpse. It's not that disgusting yet. The situation with the giants and other issues has not yet arisen. A person wearing a fisherman's hat, the drenched salvage team member. He pointed to a bag of construction waste nearby, took the initiative to speak. "Officer, just now while recovering the body, because I have been unable to catch it, I jumped into the water to take a look. Unexpected discovery. The body had been tied at the waist. A sack full of construction waste. That's why it couldn't float up. If it weren't for someone fishing and accidentally hooking it. I guess, although this member of the salvage team didn't finish speaking, everyone present understands. If it weren't for that fisherman, translation error, until it rots, no one will notice. At this moment, suicide has already been ruled out." Zhu Changsheng's expression also became serious. He frowned slightly as he glanced at the corpse on the shore. I waved my hand dismissively. "Okay, got it. Let's check the body first. Let's assess the specific situation before we proceed." As soon as these words were spoken, Su Ming and Wan Hu exchanged a glance, without further hesitation. Then, from the specialized toolbox, put on the rubber gloves, to avoid causing any damage, before the two began their inspection. Then take several shots from various angles using the camera, for future reference and document preparation. Immediately after, Su Ming took the lead and started, carefully searching for clues. Wang Hu silently held the camera, squatting nearby, waiting for Su Ming's command. While studying at the police academy, the two of them worked together in this way. Su Ming starts looking for clues. He is responsible for detailed shooting records and organize the files. Each person fulfills their own role. Each contributes according to their ability. At this moment, Su Ming first took a look at the female corpse as a whole. Fallen steps. Gently pry open the tightly shut eyelids of the female corpse, carefully observing the color and size of the pupils. Although soaked for several days, but the deceased's upper and lower eyelids and membranes, near the curve of the dragon's horn and the inner and outer corners of the eyes. You can still see them clearly, like the size of a needle tip. Reddish-brown spots appeared. The pupils were a strange light blue, and both eyes are exactly the same size. No expansion or contraction occurred. Su Ming then touched his lower eyeball. After feeling the plastic-like texture, Kai Yuo nodded thoughtfully. Then Su Ming pinched the left nostril of the female corpse with tweezers. Gently wipe for a few seconds with a cotton swab. There are not many mud, sand, or algae residues. Suddenly pried open the woman's mouth. The tooth wear is not severe. There are no dentures either, but upper and lower rows of teeth. The entire scene was presented in a moldy red color. Su Ming narrowed his eyes slightly at the sight. Push the woman's head back. Carefully observe the condition of the scenery. A clear bruise the width of half a finger, purple-black in color, suddenly appeared in sight. Su Ming maintained his current position. He gestured towards Wang Hu beside him. "Veered, come take a picture here. There isn't much mud or sand in the nostrils of the deceased. Algae and slime. There is no situation of ante-mortem fluid accumulation. lost consciousness or died before entering the water. Adding on. Translation error. The neck of the tooth appears moldy red. There are purplish-black bruises on the neck. It can now be roughly determined. The deceased did not die by drowning, but was strangled by someone and then thrown away. Not drowning to death, but rather they were tightly bound and maliciously disposed of. The result obtained currently undoubtedly raises the severity of this case. Increased again significantly. Zhu Chengsheng's expression grew increasingly serious. Took out the phone and dialed. The phone number of the Hue High Criminal Investigation Team's technical department. Lao Chen, please help me check. Within 5 days. Sky Eye surveillance near the Huanan River. A heinous murder case occurred here. We must hurry to solve the case. What? Is there no surveillance on the Huanan River? Then you should check the surveillance within a few kilometers around. Are there any suspicious individuals? At the same time, please help me take another look. Have there been any recent reports of missing women? The age is approximately between 20 and 30 years old. In the current era, the reason the police's case-solving efficiency is so high. The Sky Eye surveillance plays a crucial role. But now, there are no surveillance cameras near the Huanan River. Undoubtedly increased the difficulty of this case. Can only place hope in. Important clues can be found on this corpse. The identity of the deceased has been confirmed. While Zhu Chengsheng arranged to check the Tianyin and the identity of the deceased, Su Ming did not stop to examine the body. After confirming the strangulation marks on the neck, begin to gradually continue analyzing and observing. The body was wearing an off-shoulder outfit. There is also a colorful tattoo the size of half a palm on the collarbone. The abdomen did not significantly swell. The degree of internal organ decay is not severe. There has not been any gas accumulation yet. At the same time, further confirm that the victim died from asphyxiation. It's not drowning. Wearing tight jeans on the lower body. There are noticeable indentations and fine lines at the pelvic area. This is the mark left by the recently attached construction debris. The clothes and pants both have international brand logos, but based on the material and details. The clothes and pants are high-quality replicas, not genuine products. Slightly roll the body to the side. Su Ming clearly realized the position of the buttocks on the jeans. There are vast, even traces of yellow mud. Right pocket in front. It is also stained with a bit of yellow mud. Seeing this, Su Ming looked up at the salvage worker beside him. He asked aloud, "Hello, I'd asked just now when you were salvaging. Have you ever dragged a body on the ground?" The curious salvager is watching the performance. He quickly waved his hand and replied, "Police officer, we are professional salvage workers. How could they leave this body, put it down and take it off, let alone? We are in the salvage business. Desecrating a corpse is truly a great disrespect. It's all superstition, a bit taboo." Su Ming gently nodded, did not say anything more. Continued to focus on the female corpse. I saw the ring finger and index finger of his left hand. The sharp weapon was cut and lost. But the wound did not dry up, the traces of blood seeping out. The other fingers are adorned with nail art. One can see the delicacy of the deceased in life. There are obvious band marks on the left wrist. The ends expand while the middle contracts, just like a bracelet or a watch. Due to internal tension. Translation error. Immediately following that, look to the right, just like the left hand. Each finger is adorned with beautiful nail art. But between the fingers of the index finger, Su Ming saw a large piece of leather. Picking up a piece of leather the size of a fingernail with tweezers. After a rough glance with both eyes, put it in a plastic sleeve for storage. The deceased's pants are intact. There was no state of tearing apart. Can determine that there was no prior experience of violation in life. Translation error. It's basically impossible now. Translation error. Su Mingwei squinted thoughtfully. The clues we currently have validate each other with the experiences obtained from self-simulation. A few seconds later, Su Ming took off the rubber gloves. He turned to Zhu Changsheng beside him and asked, "Shendi, I have roughly finished looking at this. Do you need to take another look yourself? Just directly deliver the fruits to the funeral home." Did you finish that so quickly?" Contacting Zhu Changsheng from the Criminal Investigation Technology Department. Turn around. Surprised, I picked a line. Did not continue to. Xiaoming, what detailed discoveries do you have? The forensic department just called. It is said that recently, we in the Magic City have not received any reports of missing young women. We must start with the body now, in solving the murder case. An extremely important matter. Confirm the identity of the deceased, because about 90% of homicides are committed by acquaintances. As long as we can confirm the identity of the deceased, then the resolution of the case is not far off. But now, there are no missing persons cases that can be matched. Only able to rely on clues obtained from the corpse, or extract the portrait to the database for comparison. We can confirm the identity of the deceased now. Su Ming glanced at the female corpse beside him. Then he confidently spoke up. The victim is a woman. Height is approximately 165 centimeters. Age is determined by appearance and the degree of tooth wear. They should be between 24 and 26 years old. Daily life should be quite exquisite. This is evident from the manicured nails and attire. Can roughly determine. However, my own financial situation is not good because of the clothes worn by the deceased. They are all high-quality replicas of big brands. If one were to boldly speculate, one can also deduce their vain character. There may be situations where wearing designer clothes is necessary. And the victim was well dressed before death, applying double eyelid tape, still wearing light blue contact lenses. Although the face was soaked, but it can still be seen that there are traces of makeup remaining. Most girls only dress up like this when they go out. It can be determined that the deceased was fully dressed to meet someone or participate in an activity, unexpectedly encountered an accident. The probability of a familiar person committing the crime has greatly increased. Speaking of which, the several public security officers standing nearby, they all gasped in unison. They stared at each other in shock. Is it really necessary to be this dramatic? Just a few simple minutes like this. So many clues can be gathered from the corpse. Indeed, criminal police are all monsters. Zhu Chengshen was momentarily astonished. Earlier, he was on the phone contacting the technical department, did not pay attention to Su Ming's specific examination order and details. Now we hear Su Ming's deduction. Translation error. Suddenly he wiped his chin and frowned. So, the conclusion now might be, the victim had exquisite makeup before her death. I was going to meet someone. Unexpectedly, the outcome faced unforeseen challenges. Suffocated by tightly bound wire or string around the knee. Then the victim was thrown into the Huanan River and tied construction waste around his waist, causing it to not even float when it has rotted. If it weren't for... Before Zhu Changsheng could finish speaking, Su Ming waved his hand, quickly interrupted the following words, said quite seriously, "Shendi, not right. This case, It is likely that there is more than one suspect, but there is a high probability of a second crime occurring, because in my deduction, the person who killed and threw the victim into the Huanan River, the suspect with construction waste tied around his waist, not the same one. What? Recidivism. There are two criminals. Even the experienced Zhu Chengsheng, hearing Zhu Ming come to this conclusion, they also exclaimed in disbelief, because, in his past experiences, although secondary crimes exist, but the probability has always been very low, let alone the second crime of disposing of a body in the box. So many years. He had never seen it before. It seems that Zhu Chengsheng had already guessed he would be so surprised. Su Ming pointed to the deceased's wrist, indicating it. "Shenji, you can check the swollen bindings on the deceased's wrist, and the two fingers that were severed by a sharp object. I think these two locations can significantly illustrate, after the murderer disposed of the body, there are still others who have come into contact with the body. Moreover, the butt area of the deceased's jeans, there are large patches of yellow mud with extremely obvious deformation locks. It can better illustrate the occurrence of secondary crimes." Upon hearing this, Zhu Chengsheng immediately looked towards the position pointed out by Su Ming, that striped wristband, cut wound, but the two strangely shaped fingers, and the yellow mud on the jeans, further confirmed the speculation of a second crime. Ming Zui thought seriously for a few seconds, staring at the bag of construction debris placed beside. Zhu Chengsheng nodded slightly with sweaty palms, said with a sense of emotion, "Zio Ming, you really surprised me. I can't believe it could happen in such a short time. Determined the possibility of secondary offenses. And there were two criminals who didn't know each other. Such an ability to infer details from a corpse. It's not much different from a forensic expert. Speaking of which," Zhu Chengsheng paused for 2 seconds. Wang Hu, holding the photo album, asked, "Beard, I'm here to ask you something. Translation error. It can be determined that this case involves a second crime. Hello, take it all in. This case has a lot to teach us." Husey was momentarily taken aback, the corpse in front of my eyes, with barely passing grades from the police academy exam. Tried to explain. First, the victim's body. The left hand only has 2 fingers cut off. The wound showed no signs of bleeding or infection. This injury occurred after the victim had died, and after being dumped into the river for a while. It was caused by being fished out and cut off again, but a normal killer definitely wouldn't. Speaking of which, Husey can no longer continue speaking, looking at Su Ming with pleading eyes. It's obvious. Let someone who hasn't even graduated from the police academy, a soon-to-be graduate with no real detective experience, explaining clues obtained from the body, behavior of the criminal suspect. It's still a bit too difficult. Of course, Su Ming explained it, is completely stress-free. It can even be described from the perspective of the suspect, looking at Wang, whose pleading eyes. Su Ming chuckled lightly and then eased the situation. Several clues found on the body. Need to overlay associations for mutual verification to achieve the most accurate inference results. For example, from those 2 severed finger wounds, able to clearly identify the deceased when the body was thrown into the river, rescued by someone. The body was damaged. But what is this destruction for? Could be taken from the wrist. The mark that resembles a thin strap can be identified. This type of indentation. It is mainly made of bracelets. Bracelet, watches and other objects caused, because the deceased was dumped into the river, causing swelling in the wrist. however, due to the poor elasticity of these objects. So, unable to follow as the wrist grows larger, so there were marks left behind. There are traces of fine straps. So the object shrinks tightly. It is highly unlikely that there will be any accidental detachment. But now this object, but vanished without a trace, undoubtedly indicates there is someone. The item on the deceased's wrist has been removed, since we can infer that this person is a repeat offender. The goal was the jewelry and wealth of the deceased. The wrist item is likely a watch, can be untied and removed later, otherwise the wrist. Translation error. The two fingers lost by the deceased, most likely wearing a ring. At the same time, evenly coated yellow mud on the jeans. Can you explain further? The deceased had been recovered before, even if it appears killed by the murderer on the ground. The situation of abandoning a body after a crime. Wearable jeans. The adsorption capability is not strong. After being thrown into the water, it will also dissipate quite a bit. It will absolutely not happen. Such evenly distributed yellow mud. Only the dead. Thrown into the river. Later it was salvaged by someone. On the river bank, a detour. Translation error. Only then can it absorb such a large amount of yellow mud. Even if thrown back into the water again, they won't fall off. And the deceased's jeans. Right pocket, covered with a little yellow mud. Highly likely to be the suspect. Take the phone out of his pocket. Or the wallet was taken away. Traces left behind. Take these clues. Carefully organize everything. Can be roughly restored. At that time, the situation. Sumingway squinted her eyes, gently pinching the chin. He spoke softly. I am a very good swimmer. Strong psychological resilience. And the economic conditions are not very good. Nearby residents. I came over yesterday out of boredom, strolling along the Huinin River. Unexpected discovery. A woman's corpse is floating on the river. I originally wanted to call the police, but when I saw the watch and ring on the corpse's wrist, thinking about how I need money, so the thought of scavenging for bodies and treasures arose. At first, hearing Su Ming's words, I still had some doubts. Unfathomable Zhu Chensheng, as Su Ming continued to narrate, suddenly opened his eyes wide, filled with awe and shock. That us, Su Ming, this is not simple case analysis, but instead put themselves into the second suspect above. Using psychological testing, let's analyze and solve the case. Can use this method. Let's solve the case. This talent. It's simply unimaginable. At this moment, Su Ming is still using the perspective of the suspect. Come and tell, taking advantage of the dimming light. The water quality is quite good. I, with strong psychological resilience, jump directly into the Huinin River, drag the body back to the shore. But the body swelled due to being soaked in water. The ring can't be taken off at all. So I can only go back to get the knife first. Later I'll chop off his fingers. Translation error. Due to the worry that the body would be discovered. The police followed the clues. Find me. So I'll just use a burlap sack. Loaded a bag of construction waste. Later tie it directly to the body. Let him be completely unable to get up. Just like that. I cut off 2 fingers from the corpse. I got 2 rings. He casually took the deceased's phone from their pocket. Or the wallet was taken away. This time the harvest is quite substantial. That watch and 2 rings. Looks valuable. There is still a phone. Let's see if it can be fixed. I originally thought to wait for the storm to pass. Just take these things. When I took it to sell. A damn fisherman. I actually hooked this corpse. A large group of police arrived. The body has also been recovered. All the neighbors went to watch the show. I am feeling an indescribable worry right now. Should we run away? However, I didn't kill the person. Last night, I didn't leave any evidence either. Don't rush to run away yet. Blending into the crowd. Look at those police officers. We'll talk once we find some clues. At this moment, Su Ming stopped to describe the perspective of the criminal suspect. I glanced at the boundary of the police line. Many elderly men and women. Suddenly, he faced Zhu Changsheng. He smiled confidently. Chenji, I think that person committed a second crime. It's most likely the nearby residents. One of the crowd. It's very likely now. Watching a play just outside the police line. According to the time of death, paying time with the corpse. Secondary crime. Basically, it was last night. Other places. Or passers-by. Not nearby. It's hard to have a tool for the crime. I think, first to ask the elderly onlookers. Key inspection meeting will be held. People with poor conditions. Take a look. Who is trying to take advantage of the chaos? Him? Chen Kekwen. Aides. 60. What work are you doing now? What kind of work is it? They are all retired now. I can't do it anymore. It's okay, old Zhang. Next, please come up. Su Ming's previous suggestion. It is obvious. It has already been accepted by Zhu Changsheng. Because, after thinking carefully for a few seconds, experienced Zhu Changsheng. They also agreed with Su Ming's inference. Can examine the victim's body. Suspect of committing a second crime. Yuanin and the surrounding residents. No matter how you analyze it, they are indeed the most likely group. And uncle and aunt outside the police line, although there are many, but excluding those who are too old, and the disabled after, there are probably only about 10 people. So, Zhu Chengsheng simply, a temporary stage was set up. One by Wan Hu, conduct a simple inquiry. He and Su Ming stood behind. Observe the respondents' expressions and attitudes. From the rough methods used to handle the deceased, this suspect, definitely not an expert in crime, most likely through observing the face, Due's expressions and body language, then you can discern the general idea, as one after another asks about the past. Nearby residents with a probability of being suspects. Only one middle-aged man remains, and this person, Zhu Changsheng had notified earlier, when you need to ask a question temporarily, hid behind the crowd. It seems to be trying to find an opportunity. Leave this place. At the same time, order of inquiry, even arranged it for last. It's like wanting to. Listen to what questions need to be asked. Prepare to respond early. These 2 points undoubtedly caught Su Ming's attention. At this moment, when this person in an old hand shirt, casual long pants, wearing old-fashioned sandals, obvious economic situation, a middle-aged man who didn't seem very good approached. Su Ming pressed down on Zaya Wangyu's shoulder. Don't open your mouth to express your displeasure. As the sound emerged, this is the same issue as the previous few people. Undoubtedly, it made the middle-aged man let out a sigh of relief, but replied a bit nervously. Su Yiguo, my name is Su Yiguo. How old are you?